Hello students, and welcome to another class of botany. Today I want to discuss with you two very important global environmental issues which you all are familiar with, and we have been experiencing the effect, and you have been familiar with this even in your environmental education class in your class 11. And so I would like to recap of what you have learned, and let's also learn some new things through this greenhouse effect or the global warming, climate change, and ozone layer depletion. Firstly, let's discuss about greenhouse effect. How is it caused? What are the effects? And how should we mitigate or adapt ourselves to this climatic change? Okay, you know that the Earth, which is the Earth which consists of the biotic communities, it's surrounded by a gaseous envelope called the atmosphere, and this atmosphere consists of different layers. These are the troposphere, then the stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and space. So the atmosphere, which is the gaseous envelope of the Earth, it consists of different layers: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the space. So this is the atmosphere which receives the radiant energy from the sun before it reaches the Earth. So this radiant energy or the solar energy, before it reaches the Earth, it has to cross or it has to pass through the atmosphere, which consists of these various layers. And we have learned we have learned in the last class that this radiant energy, a part of this radiant energy, they are absorbed in the atmosphere. Before reaching the Earth's surface, a part of this, they are absorbed in the atmosphere. Some of it, they are reflected back into the space, and a part of this radiant energy reaches the Earth. Only certain percentage of this, the total solar energy, reaches the surface of the Earth. So this atmosphere is visible. It is transparent to the incoming visible light, and this radiant energy coming from the sun, it is trapped by the Earth's surface. So it's trapped by the land, it's trapped by the ocean. So this radiant energy, which crosses the atmosphere, reaches the Earth's surface, they are trapped by the land, ocean, and in turn, this radiant energy is again reflected back into the atmosphere again. So after getting warmed up, the Earth's surface reflects this energy, light energy, back into the atmosphere again. So now what these different layers, or particularly this troposphere, does here is that the troposphere does not allow this radiant energy to escape back into the space again, into the atmosphere. They come as short waves. Radiant energy, they enter as short waves, they strike the Earth, and they are reflected back as long waves. So this troposphere, which is present in the atmosphere, a layer in the atmosphere, they do not allow these long waves or the infrared rays to escape out back into the space again. How is that possible? Because this troposphere consists of certain gases known as carbon dioxide, methane, oxides of nitrogen, CFCs, and water vapor. So troposphere, which consists of these gases are responsible for trapping this light energy which is being reflected back from the Earth. So these are the natural constituents: carbon dioxide, methane, oxide of nitrogen, chlorofluorocarbon, water vapor. So these are the natural constituents of the troposphere, and they do not allow these long waves or the infrared rays to escape back into the space. So these infrared rays are rich in energy. They are rich in energy, so they are being trapped here in this troposphere, and upon being captured or upon being trapped in the troposphere gets warmed up. It gets warmed up, and as the temperature of the troposphere goes up, it again re-emits that heat back into the Earth again. So after trapping the energy, after trapping the infrared rays, the temperature in the troposphere rises, and it re-emits that heat energy back into the earth, and then it warms up the surface of the earth. So this is how the average temperature of the earth, which is 15 degrees centigrade, is being made possible because of these gases which are present in the troposphere. So these gases work in a function similar to that of the glass panels in a greenhouse. The glass panels in a greenhouse, they allow sunlight to enter the house, keep the environment in the greenhouse, in the house warm, but it does not allow the heat or the energy to escape back outside again. So in that way, those plants that require higher temperature or warmer environment, they are able to grow inside the greenhouse, and that's how they are propagated. So these gases, which are the natural constituent of the troposphere, they are analogous to the glass panels of the greenhouse, and as such, they are also called as greenhouse gases. So these greenhouse gases includes carbon dioxide, methane, oxides of nitrogen, chlorofluorocarbons, water vapor. So in other words, they can also be like, they act as a blanket, keeping the earth warm. So as more and more heat comes and strikes the earth, it is reflected back into the space, but this troposphere, the gases, the greenhouse gases, they do not allow the gas to escape, but it traps these infrared rays and then re-emits that infrared rays or the heat energy back into the earth, warming the temperature and maintain it at an average temperature of 15 degrees centigrade. So it's like a blanket keeping the environment warm or the earth warm. Without these gases or without this troposphere, it said that the earth will have a temperature of minus 18 degrees centigrade, which is below the freezing. So these gases, the so-called greenhouse gases, which maintains 15 degrees centigrade, the average temperature of the earth, makes it the living organism to survive on earth, or the earth to be hospitable. Otherwise, this will be the temperature without this minus 18 degrees centigrade will be the temperature without these greenhouse gases, which life will not be able to exist in this temperature. So because of these gases, it makes a difference of 33 degrees centigrade. So it increases the temperature from this 18 degrees centigrade, it increases the temperature by 33 degrees centigrade, raising it up to 15 degrees centigrade, where life is able to thrive within this range of temperature. So now, this is the phenomenon. This is the natural phenomenon which is taking place in the atmosphere, and it's because of this we are able to thrive within this range of temperature. Now, the important effect of this is that as more and more carbon dioxide, as more and more greenhouse gases are added into the atmosphere, as more and more gases, carbon dioxide, as more and more methane, or as more and more nitrous oxide, CFCs, and water vapor are added into the atmosphere, that means it's like adding more and more blanket. It's adding more and more blanket, so more and more heat will be trapped in the troposphere. More and more heat will be trapped in the troposphere, and the heat is not going to be is not going to escape into the space, but that heat which has been trapped in the troposphere is going to be reflected, re-emitted back into the earth. So as more heat is trapped here, that means more and more heat will be radiated back into the earth, and in that case, this temperature will go, the average temperature of the earth will rise. It is said that because of the increase of these greenhouse gases in the troposphere, more and more heat is radiated back into Earth space, and because of that, it's said that the temperature of the Earth is now increased by 0.6 degree centigrade. It seems a small degree centigrade increase, but it is said, some journals say that a 5 degree centigrade increase in the temperature of the Earth brought the present civilization, brought the present Earth from the Ice Age. It was from the Ice Age, at 5 degrees centigrade increase in the average temperature of the Earth brought the present situation, brought the present Earth to this state. And so it said that if there is a 5 degrees centigrade increase from this average temperature, then it said, some journal, it said that we can go back to, chances are that we can go back to the Ice Age again. So these are some assumptions Of course, we still haven't reached this 5 degrees centigrade. So it says that there is a 0.6 degree increase from this average temperature of the Earth. So as we pump more and more gases into the atmosphere, slowly this average temperature of the Earth will go on increasing. So this rise in the average temperature of the Earth's surface is known as global warming or climate change. The rise in the average temperature of the Earth's surface is known as global warming or climate change. And you can see from this that what are the contribution, what are the percentage contribution of the gases in this global warming? The carbon dioxide is the maximum contribution. It contributes 60% to global warming. Methane contributes about 20%. CFCs, which is also called as chlorofluorocarbons, it contributes 14%, and oxide of nitrogen, it contributes 6%. So these are the relative contribution of the different greenhouse gases to global warming. And so as we pump more and more of these gases, and we know that this carbon dioxide, the source is the use of fossil fuels. The main source is the fossil fuels. And fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, oils. So these fossil fuels are used in electric power plants, they are used in automobiles, they are used in aircrafts, they are used even in industries. So as the use of fossil fuels increases, more and more carbon dioxide are pumped into the atmosphere. And this methane is a product of incomplete decomposition of biomass. When there's incomplete decomposition of biomass taking place, methane is released by the methanogens, or those bacteria decomposing the biomass. And CFCs, these CFCs, they are used in refrigerators, they are used in air conditioners, they are used in aerosol sprays. So during the use of those products releases this carbon dioxide, and these nitrous oxides are products of industries. So as our activities increases, as we use these fossil fuels, or there's incomplete combustion of decomposition of biomass, methane is released, the use of refrigerators, ACs, aerosol sprays, they releases CFCs, and industrial products reduces oxides of nitrogen. So this is the relative contribution of the different gases to global warming, and as we pump more and more these gases into the atmosphere, then slowly the temperature of the Earth is rising, and this results in global warming or climatic change. And we know that we are already experiencing the effect. This climate change or global warming is a very common topic. We are familiar with that. We know what it is and how to go about this. So let's see what is the effect. Now the temperature is already done. The effect is already done. We are experiencing it. What are some of the effects that we are experiencing, or what are some of the effects that have already taken place? Let's look briefly into some of those effects. Climate. As we have already discussed that there's a rise in temperature, and so also there is a change in the climatic pattern, and the another is the sea level. The rise in temperature or this climatic change has resulted in the melting of the polar ice caps or the glaciers, and this has resulted in the rise of the sea level. It said that the sea level has increased by a few mm, 3.6 mm if I'm not wrong. So the level of the seas has risen by 3.6 mm because of the melting of these polar caps, ice caps, and these glaciers. And it said that if there is even an increase of 1 meter, even if there is an increase of 1 meter of this sea level, it said that many of the island nations, many of the cities that are settled around the coastal areas, or many of the island nations will be submerged under the sea, even if there is an increase of 1 meter of the sea level. So there's a threat to the survival of human beings, and it said that there's already an increase of 3.6 mm of the sea level, and now this, as the temperature rises, or the temperature of the Earth's surface increases, so also the ocean got warmer. the temperature of even the ocean started rising. So this, as the temperature of the ocean started rising, then it is a threat to the survival of the aquatic ecosystem. And this ocean, as the temperature rises, there is more evaporation. There is more evaporation taking place, and if there is more evaporation, then ultimately there will be more rainfall. And if there is heavy rainfall, then there will be floods. So what are the consequences of the floods again? They will be accompanied with the waterborne diseases again. Many of these diseases will come after floods, and we know that, and we have experienced this. So as the temperature of the ocean gets warmer or higher, evaporation takes place, and as a result of evaporation, more moisture in the atmosphere, and this will result in more rainfall or heavy rainfall, and result in more floods. And these are also accompanied with more frequent storms, or in some there may be drought. Some areas may experience drought. Instead of rainfall, heavy rainfall, some regions of the world will experience drought, and if there is drought, then the crop production will fail. There will be even intensified wildfires. Then these wildfires will threaten the habitat of plants, will threaten the habitat of animals, and as such migration have to take place. Then crop productivity will fail. Crop production will fail, and if crop production fails, then this will lead to malnutrition, or it will lead even to food insecurity. The food security will even be threatened when crop production fails. Okay, so besides this, as the temperature increases, there will be more and more heat waves, and these heat waves will kill human beings. So also there will be many kinds of respiratory illness related to the heat. And because of this climatic change, or because of the increase in the temperature of the earth, it's said that some of the butterflies, they have started migrating towards the pole. They have started, as the temperature rises, the butterflies, they have started migrating in search of cooler temperatures. They have started moving towards more and more towards the poles, or towards higher altitude in search of cooler regions. And so with that, together with that, there is also the effect of this global warming on the flowering of the plants. The migration pattern of animals are also disturbed. The pattern of migration of the animals are disturbed. So there is an effect on the ecosystem as a whole. And another very important effect of this global warming or climatic change is the effect on the coral reefs. The effect on coral reefs. So this coral reefs are dying because of this global warming, of the climatic change in the temperature of the ocean. And you know, this coral reefs, they are very important. They are one of the most productive ecosystems, as we have discussed in the previous class, that coral reefs and tropical rainforests, they are the most productive ecosystems. So this climate change has affected even the coral reefs, and coral reefs are dying. And the important function of these coral reefs is that they protect the coastal areas. They protect the coastal areas from the wave action and from the tropical action of the storms. So these coral reefs are slowly dying. They are slowly paving ways for the ocean to reach more and more the coastal areas, and it also affects the phytoplanktons. So these phytoplanktons are the photosynthetic animals which are present, photosynthetic organisms which are present in the oceans, present in the seas. So as the temperature gets warmer, the ocean become more and more acidic, because carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, when it comes in contact with the ocean, the water in the ocean, it forms carbonic acid. So it makes the water more and more acidic, which will threaten the survival of the planktons. And if these phytoplanktons die, then the whole food chain and the food web in the ecosystem the aquatic ecosystem will be disturbed, leading to the extinction of the marine animals. And another important thing is that it said that these coral reefs, they are the habitat of varieties of fishes. Varieties of fishes. These coral reefs, they have a symbiotic association with the algae, and these algae are photosynthetic, they releases oxygen. So these coral reefs, it said that they are the habitat of varieties of fishes. Whenever you look into an aquarium or whenever you go and see the setup of an aquarium, you'll see that there are varieties of fishes, different colors of fishes. It said that those fishes are taken from the coral reefs. Those fishes are caught from the coral reefs and brought into the market. So once these coral reefs are destroyed, then these fishes, the habitat of these fishes will be destroyed, and these algae, which are supposed to be photosynthetic, which releases oxygen during the process, so this photosynthetic activity will also decrease and the ocean will become more and more acidic. So there will be the fish community will also be disturbed, or it may even lead to the extinction of the fishes. And so the another effect is that shortage of fresh water. So as the level of the sea rises, you know that the sea is salty in nature. So as the level of the sea rises, it comes and mixes up with the fresh water, and so there will be a shortage of fresh water, and human beings will suffer with this, the most shortage of fresh water as the level of sea rises, which will come and mix with the fresh water. So besides this, there are also some other effects on plants, on animals, causing various kinds of disease, causing the increase in the pathogens, the rodents, the mosquitoes, or some other disease-carrying microorganisms or disease-carrying pathogens will increase as a result of this rising temperature. So the effect is there, we have experienced, and these are some of the expected effects that are coming to us in the future. So what are we going to do? So we have to act now to tackle this problem. So what are the things that we can mitigate to reduce this? What are the things that we can do to reduce these greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? First is that we should reduce the emission of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And how to reduce the emission is that to reduce our dependence on these fossil fuels, to reduce our dependence on coal, to reduce our dependence on petroleum or other natural gases, and shift towards a more eco-friendly fuels known as biofuels. Besides that, limits the use of other gases and allowing complete decomposition to take place, and also allowing forestry or deforestation is also one of the important cause of release of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So another way to tackle this is to allow afforestation or to encourage forestry. You know that the trees, they are known as the lungs of the earth, or the Amazon forest or the tropical rainforest, they are known as the lungs of the earth because of the exchange of gases, or because they are able to purify the earth, purify the atmosphere. So encourage forestry, then reduce our dependence on these biofuels, and also prepare ourselves how to tackle this. Prepare ourselves what are the things that we could do to reduce this. So besides this, there will be many other more efficient mitigation steps that you can take, I can take. So as you go through the literature or journals, as you surf through, please add up all those important points which I have missed here today, even to your notes together with this. So with this, I put the greenhouse effect or global warming to stop, and let's move on to another topic that is another very important global issue, ozone layer depletion. The next important topic is the ozone layer. Okay, come back to the atmosphere, troposphere. Then stratosphere. Okay, so this ozone is a triatomic of oxygen. It's a natural constituent of the stratosphere, and it is present in the stratospheric layer of the atmosphere. And one important function of this ozone is that it does not allow the ultraviolet rays to reach the Earth. So it acts as a protective shield which protects the Earth from the harmful effects of these ultraviolet rays from entering the Earth. So this ozone is formed naturally in the atmosphere when ultraviolet rays comes in contact with oxygen, molecule of oxygen. It combines to form, it breaks up into two atoms of oxygen which combines with a molecule of oxygen to form ozone. So this is how ozone is formed naturally in the atmosphere, and this layer of ozone is present in the stratosphere, and this ozone layer protects the ultraviolet rays from reaching the Earth. So now, what is the problem with this ozone layer started when human beings discovered the CFCs, and we started using these CFCs. CFCs are those chlorofluorocarbon, the groups of halogens. So these CFCs, they are released into the atmosphere. It makes its way into the stratosphere. So whenever this CFCs comes in contact with the ultraviolet or energy-rich ultraviolet rays, it releases chlorine. It releases free chlorine or chlorine atoms, and so chlorine atoms are released into the atmosphere. So these chlorine atoms, when they come in contact with ozone, they breaks up ozone into chlorine monoxide and oxygen, and this is how chlorine slowly they destroy the ozone. So as more and more CFCs are released into the atmosphere, more and more free chlorines are formed, and this goes on attacking and reducing the number of molecules of ozone in the atmosphere. So this layer gets thinner and thinner. The ozone layer or ozonosphere or ozone layer, which is present in the stratosphere, which acts as an umbrella or as a shield protecting the Earth from these harmful ultraviolet rays, it gets thinner and thinner, allowing the ultraviolet rays to reach the Earth. So now there is a term known as ozone hole in Antarctica continent. Okay, so this ozone hole is not necessarily a hole, but it is, there are certain regions, okay, there are certain regions in the stratospheric layer of the atmosphere above the Antarctica where the layer of the ozone is very thin in some particular months. During the month of September, October and November, the atmosphere above the Antarctica in the stratospheric region, the layer of this ozone becomes very thin. So that is known as ozone hole. So when scientists started measuring the layer of the ozone layer in the stratosphere above Antarctica, they discovered this ozone hole above Antarctica, and it's also said that there is also ozone hole above Arctic. Okay, so now as the layer of the ozone gets thinner and thinner, there is more chances of these ultraviolet rays reaching the surface of the Earth. The umbrella gets thinner. So what are some of the effects of these ultraviolet rays, or what are some of the effects of ozone layer depletion? What will happen when this layer gets depleted? One effect is that there will be an increase in skin cancer. So these ultraviolet rays will reach the surface of the Earth, and they will cause skin cancer, different kinds of skin cancer in human beings. Not only human beings, even the animals, they will be affected with the skin cancer, development of formation of skin cancer. Then another is cataracts. Cataract is the cloudy formation of a cloudy type in front of the lens. So as the ultraviolet rays reaches the surface of the Earth, they causes cataracts. They have the probability of causing cataracts, or they even cause cataracts. So many of us, we see that our parents or our grandparents, they suffer from cataracts, and they have to undergo surgery to correct this. So ultraviolet rays reaches the Earth's surface, they cause skin cancer, then even cause cataracts. And another is that they can cause immune deficiency. disorders. They can cause different kinds of immune deficiency disorders, and they can also cause mutation. They can cause mutation. Ultraviolet rays can cause mutation in the sequence or the bases in our genes. So once mutation is caused, the sequence or the information is changed, so they can result in many of the genetic disorders. So besides this, not only they have an effect on the human beings, they also have effects even on the animals or the biotic community as a whole, which survives on the earth. So how to mitigate this is that to reduce the use of CFCs. Not only this, but not only the CFCs, but even the other gases. But the most efficient or the most effective ozone depleting substance is the chlorine, and this chlorine is released from the CFCs. It goes on as it is released into atmosphere or in the troposphere. It makes its way even to the stratosphere. So when it comes in contact, or whenever this chlorine comes in contact or is radiated by the ultraviolet rays, they break down this CFCs, releasing a free free atom of chlorine, and this will attack oxygen, which breaks into chlorine monoxide and oxygen, and so this will further go on to reduce the number of ozone in the atmosphere. So as we reduces the use of CFCs, then ultimately the result is the reduce in the emission of chlorine in the atmosphere. So this greenhouse effect and the ozone layer are the ozone layer depletion are the two major environmental issues which is threatening our survival. So it's not someone who has done this, it's not someone who is releasing these greenhouse gases or CFCs into the atmosphere, but it is our own activity. It's our activities. So our activities itself, it's threatening our survival. So we should develop strategies to tackle these problems, and because and realizing this harmful effects of this ozone layer depletion, Montreal Protocol has come into effect, then Kyoto Protocol has come into effect. So the developed nations, they are taking steps as to how to reduce this use of CFCs and to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So please surf even through the other journals and even other textbooks and even the internet to supplement more of your knowledge in addition to what we have discussed today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will do the assignment that I have told you.